Hello everyone, welcome to Mr. Smelly's Fragrance Reviews. So I'm going to kick off today's show with a new feature that I'm going to bring to you, and that's Mr. Smelly's Top Tips. These are a few non-fragrance related top tips that can help make life easier for you. So here's tip number one. Taps that leak can be an annoying and wasteful problem. So here's a handy hint for how you can avoid that problem. If a tap in your house is leaking, simply locate the water supply on and off switch, which is located somewhere outside your house underneath a manhole type cover. Turn the water off and the leak will stop. If you need to use any of the taps in your home, simply go outside and turn the water on again in order to use the tap, and then shut it right off again after you finish using the water for whatever you need. Hello everyone, welcome to a new series I'm going to be doing called Great Reformulations. This was an idea from someone on a Facebook group, and he wanted to know and see more reviews of good reformulations that are out there today, instead of always reviewers saying the old vintage version is so much better. So we're going to start off with Dior's Jules. This video is sponsored by Fragrance Samples UK, who very kindly sent me my sample of this slightly hard to get fragrance. Fragrance Samples UK is a great company in the UK run by Greg from the Gruggy Boy 76 channel, and from there you can buy samples of all kinds of rare, discontinued and modern niche fragrances, and also currently available popular designer fragrances. They've got a very large selection of fragrances, hundreds of options on there, and it's a really great way for you to save money by sampling fragrances instead of rushing out and blind buying them, especially when they're really expensive ones. Niche fragrances you can buy there. You can try out things like Xerjoff, things like Amouage that are not so easy to find in the shops, and see if you like them before you splash out buying a full bottle. Also, you can just buy a few mils of something for a special occasion. Maybe it's a fragrance you probably wouldn't use day in, day out, but you just want a little bit of it for a wedding or a party or for nights out, so a few mils will do you. On top of that, maybe it's a fragrance you do want to use a little bit, but you still don't need a big 100ml bottle, so you could get 10 mils, you could get 20 mils. A lot of them come in 50ml sizes. That 100ml bottle that costs you so much money could end up being a really expensive ornament. So going to Fragrance Samples UK is a great way to save money and still have great fragrances available to try and indeed to wear. They do ship worldwide. There are details of how to do that below. There are just a few terms and restrictions on that, but they have successfully shipped many fragrances all around the world. So it's not just for us folks in the UK. Right, let's get stuck into it. So Dior Jules, this one was released first in 1980. And the perfumer for the original version was Jean Martel. So this is known really as one of these powerhouse 1980s fragrances, and it's going to be very interesting to see how it measures up against some of the other 80s powerhouses. So we're going to be thinking about things like Kouros from Yves Saint Laurent, things like Chanel's Antaeus, as things that we might compare this one to. There's others too that I think it has comparisons to, so let's have a look at the notes for this one. In the top, we've got galbanum and herbal notes. In the mid we have black pepper, cyclamen and hedione, and in the base we have cedar, leather and fir. So let's find out how this one smells. Here we go. Here's how the sprayers come with a 5ml sample from Fragrance Samples UK, nicely labelled, and they come in a neat little pouch as well. So the opening on this one is very bright and green. It's much more bright and green than Antaeus or Kouros. So to me, I get a citrus feel. It's not mentioned that there are any citrus notes, but I think bergamot or even lemon come to mind when you spray this. So that's really nice if you like the citrus fresh fragrances. And underlying that, and I've worn it a few times now, what we get with this one is a really piney, mossy, masculine feel with some leather in the base. So the overall impression I've got from wearing this one is that it does have that 80s feel. It's green, it's very piney, and it's got some masculine leatheriness and also a bit of animalic notes in there. Greg, in his review of this one that he's done, which I'll put the link to below on his channel, did mention that he thinks maybe there's castoreum in there. That's an animalistic note that comes from beavers, in fact. And although that might not seem obviously an appealing idea, in perfumery castoreum is often used, and of course the smell of beaver, although not obviously necessarily an attractive one, it can be appealing to a lot of us. So yeah, that it gives us animalisticness, yeah, but I don't think it's as strong as in things like Chorus or maybe even as in Antaeus. I'm actually reminded of Ralph Lauren's Polo Green with this one a lot as well, because it's got that really strong fur-like or piney feel. So it's very green, it's very masculine, and it's a good alternative if you quite like Chorus but you find it a little bit too animalistic and you want something with a bit more of a crisp, fresh feel. This could be a great option. I've found that performance is very, very good. Longevity is excellent. It stays around a long time, as you would expect with a fragrance of this style. But there's a certain crispness, a freshness that stays throughout the life of the fragrance that I think distinguishes it a little bit from some of the other 80s powerhouse fragrances, and I get a feeling a little bit of, if you mix a little bit of Chorus with a little bit of Polo Green and maybe even just a tiny smidgen of green Irish tweed, because there is that fresh theme with this one. So a really well crafted and high quality fragrance. Is so different to anything else that's out there today, and I think it's brave of Dior to re-release this one in 2016. So they've done things like Dior Sauvage, which have upset some people because they're seen as too generic, but this one, so very different to that. It's not the easiest one in the world to get hold of. That's why Fragrance Samples UK is a great place to get a sample and try it out. But you can track down full bottles online. I don't think it's widely available in shops in the UK yet, but I think in mainland Europe it may be more available. I'm not sure. Very, very nice if you like your old school fragrances. If you don't like old school fragrances, if you find dated things off-putting, this probably won't appeal to you. It's definitely for the older person. It's more likely to appeal to people 30 and upwards. It's the kind of fragrance that could be a signature scent, but it has to be for a real fragrance connoisseur who doesn't mind standing out in the crowd a little bit. So, well worth checking out Dior Jules. And the key point here about the reformulation is what I want to mention. This is clearly reformulated. It was brought out a few times actually. It came out in 1980. I think it went away again. I think it came out again in a different iteration and then disappeared again, and now it's back. Now, I have not smelled any of the old versions, but I can testify that this one is everything you would hope for when you read about the description of the style of fragrance and the notes that are in it. If the old ones smelled a lot different, I can only imagine that they were probably harder to wear and would be less appealing in today's world, because this definitely has the 80s feel. Whatever ingredients they've had to change, they've done a really great job of making you feel like you're right back there in the mid-80s or something wearing this one. It smells fresh. It's dated, but not so dated that you can't wear it today. It has great staying power and sillage. Greg's review also says the same thing. It performs really well. And it smells good. It smells really good, and there's nothing really that I would say from my imagining of how I would like this fragrance to smell when I read the old descriptions of it and see the old bottle. It's just how I would hope it to smell. So I think the reformulation has been done really well. I can highly recommend it. If I had to give it a mark out of 10, I'll go with 8.5. I really like it. You've got to be in the mood, and you've got to be a certain type of fragrance fan to want to wear it. So Dior Jules, thank you very much to Fragrance Samples UK. Please check them out. Great place to check out fragrances and save money. And thank you so much to Greg for the sample. New league table video coming very soon. Sorry I haven't done one of those for a while. Whatever you're doing in life, let's project, and I'll see you soon. Bye bye.